Welcome, friend. I'm James, your host, and today, we're diving into another captivating episode. Grab a drink, get comfortable, and get ready for a powerful story that's sure to resonate. If something hits home, share your thoughts in the comments. Let's dive in. TIFU by putting a thong that was not my wife's in her underwear drawer, M34. So, this story is still fresh in my mind, and honestly, it feels like a scene straight out of a soap opera. Grab some popcorn because you're in for a wild ride. Setting the scene, Los Angeles, the city of angels. It was a typical Thursday evening in Los Angeles, the kind of night that glistens with the promise of weekend fun. The sun had dipped below the horizon, casting a warm orange glow over our cozy apartment, illuminating the corners with a soft, golden light. My wife had flown out to San Francisco for a work conference, leaving me alone with my thoughts and a fridge stocked with craft beer. I had planned to catch up on my favorite shows, indulging in the freedom that comes with having the house to myself. Yet, as the hours ticked by, I felt a twinge of loneliness creeping in, a reminder that solitude can sometimes feel heavier than the weight of a relationship. The city outside was bustling, cars honking, people laughing, and the distant sound of music wafting in from a nearby bar. I was caught in that bittersweet mix of longing and freedom, the kind that makes you think about all the bad choices you could make if you weren't careful. As I sank into the worn-out couch, I couldn't help but reflect on how different my life felt without my wife's presence. She was my anchor, the one who kept me grounded, and without her, the silence felt deafening. I kicked back on the couch, mindlessly flipping through channels, desperately trying to distract myself from the silence of the empty rooms around me. That's when I noticed something peculiar on the floor, half hidden beneath a discarded hoodie and a couple of stray socks. A thong. Not just any thong, but a scandalous, black lace number that looked like it had been designed to seduce. My heart raced as I picked it up, feeling the soft fabric slip between my fingers, the intricate lace patterns almost mesmerizing in the dim light. In a moment of reckless impulsivity, I brought it to my nose. It smelled clean, way too clean. A sudden surge of mischief washed over me, a devil-may-care attitude fueled by the solitude of the night. What could be the harm? I tossed it into my wife's underwear drawer without a second thought, imagining her surprise when she returned. I chuckled to myself, envisioning a playful exchange about it later, thinking I had just added a dash of spice to our lives. Little did I know, I was about to unravel a thread of drama that would leave both of us gasping for breath. The storm brews fast forward to 2 days later. My wife returned home, her presence lighting up the room like the sun breaking through a stormy sky. I was excited to see her, ready to share stories and laugh about mundane things, craving that connection we had built over years of companionship. I prepared a small welcome-home dinner, setting the table with her favorite dishes and lighting a few candles to create a warm, inviting atmosphere. However, as she climbed the stairs to get ready for her evening routine, I sensed something was off in the air, a tension I couldn't quite put my finger on. When she walked through the door, her eyes sparkled with excitement at first, but then that brightness dulled as she glanced around the room. I saw her expression shift from happiness to confusion, then to frustration as she darted upstairs, her footsteps heavy with purpose. A few minutes later, she came barreling down, her face a mix of confusion and fury. "What the hell is this?" she shouted, brandishing the thing like a weapon, her voice echoing off the walls. "Where did it come from?" My stomach dropped. I was caught in a web of my own making. I found it on the floor. It must have slipped out of the laundry basket. I thought it was yours. I stammered, trying to project innocence, but the words felt hollow as they left my mouth. Her eyes narrowed, radiating skepticism that sent chills down my spine. "You expect me to believe that? Just magically appearing on the floor? This is ridiculous." I felt the walls closing in on me, the weight of my own foolishness crashing down. "I don't know what to say, babe. I just thought it was clean. I put it away." My voice rose slightly, a mixture of panic and frustration. I felt helpless as she stormed back upstairs, fuming and slamming the bedroom door shut behind her. The confession now, here's where things get really messy. I was sitting on the couch, replaying the conversation in my head like a broken record, each word echoing with regret. My mind raced as I tried to think of a way to diffuse the situation, but it was clear that I had stepped in it big time. The apartment felt suffocating, every tick of the clock amplifying my anxiety. I could hear the silence enveloping me, mocking my foolishness, and the weight of the Thong's presence hung heavily over my thoughts. I felt as if I were trapped in a nightmare, the kind where you know you need to wake up but can't. Then, I remembered my female friend, Jenna, who had come over last week for drinks. We had shared a few beers, laughed about life, and reminisced about our college days, the camaraderie palpable in the air. I had been relaxed and carefree, caught up in the moment of nostalgia and laughter. The sound of her laughter still lingered in my mind, a stark contrast to the tension that now filled my home. In a moment of impulse, I decided to text her, hoping to find clarity in the chaos that had quickly spiraled out of control. "Hey, remember that thing I sent you a pic of? It was found in my living room. Is it yours?" A few minutes later, my phone buzzed, shattering the silence like a gunshot. Jenna replied with a series of laughing emojis and a shocked OMG, yes. How did it end up there? We both puzzled over it for a while, our conversation laced with disbelief and confusion. The laughter felt surreal, almost like a cruel joke, and it became evident that we were both equally perplexed. Finally, we concluded it must have gotten stuck in her clothes during a wild night out, static cling and all that. It was absurd, yet it felt like the only explanation that made sense amidst the whirlwind of my spiraling thoughts. The real mess gathering my courage, I approached my wife again, knowing full well that I was walking into the lion's den. I could feel my heart pounding in my chest, each beat echoing my rising anxiety as I knocked on the bedroom door. "Honey, can we talk?" "I've got something to tell you," I said, trying to sound as calm as possible, though my voice wavered slightly. She opened the door just enough to give me the death stare that could freeze flames. "What now?" "Remember the thong?" I texted Jenna. "It's hers. She was over last week, and we think it just got stuck to her clothes in the dryer." I watched her face twist in disbelief, the tension in her shoulders growing taut as I spoke. "You want me to believe that? That makes no sense," she screamed, the anger in her voice piercing through me like a dagger. I felt the heat rising in my cheeks, and for a moment, I could hardly breathe. I knew that my credibility was hanging by a thread, and the stakes had never felt higher. "Honestly, I don't even believe it myself," I pleaded, desperation creeping into my voice, drowning out any semblance of rationality. "I don't know how it got there, but I swear I'm not cheating on you." The words tumbled out of my mouth, frantic and raw, and I could see her wavering, uncertainty flickering in her eyes. I felt the gravity of the moment, the weight of every unspoken word pressing down on us both. The tension was palpable, thick enough to cut with a knife. "I can't handle this," I exclaimed, feeling the weight of the world on my shoulders, the walls closing in around me. It felt as if I were standing at the edge of a cliff, ready to plunge into the abyss below. With that, I grabbed a few things and stormed out to stay at my parents' place, my heart heavy with regret and shame, my mind swirling with what-ifs and consequences, replaying the night's events in vivid detail. The aftermath the next morning, I woke up to the sound of my phone buzzing incessantly, pulling me from a restless sleep. Filled with anxious dreams. The bright screen illuminated the dark room, contrasting with the shadows that clung to the corners like guilt. It was a text from my wife. I hesitated for a moment, my heart racing as I opened it, dreading what I might find. "I've thought about it," she wrote, each word weighing heavily in the air, laden with meaning. "I've decided to believe your ridiculous story. The thong was clean, and you wouldn't be dumb enough to put your mistress's underwear in my drawer. Come home." A wave of relief washed over me, releasing the tension that had built up in my chest like a tightly coiled spring. I couldn't help but laugh at the sheer absurdity of the situation, the irony of it all. As I walked through the door, my wife was waiting for me, arms crossed but a smirk playing on her lips, her earlier anger melting away like snow under the warm California sun. I could see a flicker of amusement in her eyes, a sign that the storm had passed and we were ready to find the humor in the situation. "Okay, so let's talk about this," she said, motioning for me to sit down on the couch. I took a deep breath, still feeling the adrenaline pumping through my veins as I prepared for what was likely to be a long discussion. "You really thought that was a good idea, huh? Just tossing some random thong into my drawer?" I chuckled nervously, scratching the back of my head. "Honestly, I thought it would be a funny surprise when you got back. I didn't think it would blow up like this. It seemed harmless at the time." She laughed, shaking her head incredulously. "Harmless? You do realize this is a major trust issue, right? I mean, finding another woman's underwear in my drawer? That's not exactly a lighthearted prank." I nodded, feeling the weight of her words. I know. It was incredibly stupid. I was just caught up in the moment. I didn't think it through. I don't know, it was like I was a kid again, doing something reckless without considering the consequences. She sighed, her expression softening. "Look, I get it. We've been together for years, and I trust you. But you have to understand how this looks from my perspective. When I saw that thong, my heart dropped. My mind immediately jumped to the worst conclusions." "I completely understand," I replied, my voice earnest. "And I'm so sorry for putting you through that. It wasn't my intention at all. I swear, I'm not cheating on you. I promise." After a moment of silence, she broke into a smile. "Okay, but you have to admit it's a pretty ridiculous story. A random thong magically appearing on our living room floor? Static cling? Really?" I chuckled, relief flooding through me. "Yeah, when you put it that way, it sounds ridiculous. I mean, what are the odds? But I can assure you, it's the truth." We spent the next hour laughing about the absurdity of the situation, my earlier tension dissipating like the morning fog. We joked about how I should probably pay more attention to the laundry and how, moving forward, I should definitely steer clear of any more unexpected surprises. I couldn't shake the feeling of gratitude for her willingness to forgive me, and I vowed to be more mindful in the future. A lesson learned as we talked, the atmosphere shifted from one of tension to one of camaraderie. We began to discuss our lives, the mundane details that often get lost in the shuffle of daily responsibilities. We shared plans for the weekend, excited to explore new brunch spots and maybe even check out that new art exhibit downtown. "Just promise me one thing," she said, leaning closer to me on the couch, her eyes sparkling. "No more mystery thongs, okay? I don't want to go through that again." I laughed, nodding earnestly. "Absolutely. No more surprise laundry mishaps. From now on, if I find something strange, I'll just toss it out."